So then guys, I've been using the iPhone 16e for the last 48 hours to see the good and the bad with this phone, because this to me is a bit of an unusual iPhone that's come from Apple, and I want to see if it does fit into that kind of budget space out there, and also if it is still just a great iPhone to recommend to buy for yourselves if you're just looking to just get an iPhone, and also one for replacing, saying, your old iPhone or switching from Android or something like this. And to begin with, I want to talk about the actual design of this iPhone. So to start with the very front of the iPhone, it is a good design. It looks like every other iPhone from, say, prior to the iPhone 14 models. And essentially this is what this is based on. The display in this is the same kind of display we had in the normal iPhone 14 and the iPhone 13 the year before that. What is a 60 Hz display? It does have a good sort of nit brightness. It can go up to 1200 at top brightness with everything with HDR, things like this. And using it outside and about, it's been okay for, using this. Now, one thing that you may have noticed also with this screen is that we do have the old notch at the top. Now, I call it the old notch, but obviously this is an advancement over the old home button we used to get on the iPhone SE. So at least that is one good thing to see there, but there is no dynamic island whatsoever on this display. But then moving over to the side of the iPhone, it does feel like holding an iPhone 14 in your hand, because this is what this frame is based off. We do have the classic 2 volume rocker buttons, but we also have the action button too, what is really, really useful. And we'll talk a little bit more about that and what we can actually use for it. Now, obviously, because I'm in the UK, we do have a SIM card slot. I know you guys in the US probably don't actually have this, so, that is a bit different to what you're getting. But obviously, it's an aluminum or aluminium build, and this is pretty cool to actually have. Now, on the rear of the actual phone, obviously it does have a nice fill on it on the back here with the glass here, but obviously there's only just one camera on the back compared to, say, the iPhone 16 normal. We've got a flash, true tone flash, and obviously a microphone and everything like that. And then if we flip over to the other side, we do also have the power button, and then also if I just turn it to upside down here, you can also see that we've got a USB-C slot, and we've also got the speaker and microphone here too. And for weight wise, it is slightly lighter than an iPhone 16, and it does feel good in the hand, I must admit that. So then, ESR is one of my favourite companies out there, what utilises MagSafe and also gives you more protection with your phone. And just like with the iPhone 16e, I said that obviously you don't have MagSafe ability. This is where ESR really come to play. So this here is their new rugged case, what I'll tell you a little bit more about in a second. But just look at this. If I put my iPhone 16e inside of this case right here, not only it's going to protect it, but this is the cool thing. We actually have a MagSafe ring on the back here. So if I put it on here, we can actually do charging with it. This actually makes the phone completely MagSafe now, what is awesome, because for example, you could use it in, say, a car charger. You can charge up your phone there, or you can actually just have it on your desk at home and you can do charging that way. And why a tough case, you may ask? Well, the cool thing is that this case can actually withstand a drop up to 23 foot. What's absolutely awesome to protect out your iPhone 16e. The case has been completely military graded, protected, and also on the inside of it, you can see here we have this sort of dual layer sort of protection that we have here with the rubber and the plastic, what is fantastic. And not only this, you can also get the new Armorite screen protector to go on the very front of your phone too, to protect your phone from getting any scratches or things like this. And I've said this before, putting on a screen protector from ESR on your phone is probably the easiest screen protector mechanism I've ever known in my life, and for the iPhone 16e it is no different. And say you didn't want to have the tough case, you wanted something to sort of sport the colour a little bit more, well, you can also still go for the Halo Lock Classic case like I've got right here, what's the clear case, where we've also got a MagSafe ring. It's also military graded too, and then of course, as we can see right here, it can charge up our phone, what is fantastic, and it's nice and strong here with its magnets. And you don't have to worry about your phone dropping off, say, the charger, for example, because the magnets in here are like almost twice as strong as some competitors out there, that even if I do give it a good shake here with the iPhone 16e, Obviously, nothing is happening there. It is really, really secure, what is fantastic news. So if you do want to check out this case and the classic clear case too, and loads of other ESR accessories for the iPhone 16e, make sure you check out all the details that are in the description of this video below. And with that, let's return back to the main video. Then, for covering things that you cannot see with this iPhone, this is including the chip inside of it and things like this, well, we do have some good upgrades here too. We actually have the A18 chip inside of this, and this is not actually the same A18 that we've got in the likes of, say, the normal iPhone 16 like I've got right here. The main difference is to do with the GPU cores. Inside this one, we have a 5-core GPU, whereas in this one, we only have a 4-core GPU. And if we have a look at these benchmarks here, you can see here with the CPU speeds, obviously things are very neck and neck here compared to the iPhone 16 and also the iPhone SE. But then if I switch over then to say Geekbench here on GPU, you can see there is a big difference here having that one less core inside of it. Now, using this phone for the last 2 days, have I felt it being slow? Not at all. It's been super fast and snappy. Whatever I've asked it to do, it's been fine. Playing games on it has been absolutely fine too. There's been no problems there. So I think there's no issues there, especially also like with multitasking, open up multiple apps and things, because we've got 8 gigabytes of RAM inside of it. And this is actually the same amount of RAM what we have in the likes of, say, the 16 Pro and the 16 Pro Max. You're not going to have any issues here whatsoever in opening up loads of apps in the background and just using the phone just as a general phone, really. There's not going to be any issues or slowdown for many years, and especially the fact that Apple are probably going to update this phone for the next, say, 5 to 6 or even 7 years with updates, what is really, really good news to hear. Now, moving on to the USB-C port at the bottom of this phone, it is USB 2.0, so, if you want to transfer files and things like this, you're not going to get the best kind of speeds compared to, say, a Pro series, but at least you can still charge up at a reasonably good speed. I think you can charge up to 27 watts or 29 watts, I can't remember the exact number. But one thing what does put this phone down a little bit is that there is no MagSafe on the back of this phone whatsoever built into it. We've actually just got the 7.5 watt charger in the back here. But I do have some really good news on that, and that's all to do with today's sponsor. But then, moving on then from this, what about, say, storage amounts and things like this? Well, the actual base model actually comes with 128 gigabytes of storage, and this can go all the way up to 512 gigabytes of storage. Now, for me, I have a moment on my phone, I have 512 gigabytes on my 16 Pro Max, and this is more than enough for me. Now, I can imagine for most people out there, these storage options, 128, 256, and 512, are going to be more than enough. And in fact, this is the exact same options we've got on the 16 and the 16 Plus. I don't think there's going to be any problems there, and I think I'm really happy that Apple didn't offer a 64 gigabyte option with this phone, because I think that would have been really, really bad of them to do that, especially if this phone's going to get, say, like I said, about 5 to 7 years of updates with it. So really, really happy that they've done that. But then for software and things like Apple Intelligence, well, all these great goodies are built in, and that's if you want to use them. That's the one thing I would say there, because I know a lot of you guys like the abilities that they're there, but a lot of you guys are not even using this. So we do have like the playground here where I can generate images and things like this, and I can also talk to Siri, chat to Siri as it were, and this is quite useful too to actually have. And then there's also the little party trick, what you can have with the action button, where you can actually set this up to use Apple Intelligence, and then obviously you can ask questions and things like that of things that you're looking at. So this is really good to have this built in. And if you don't want to have that set up as your action button, you want to use it as something else, well, you can actually set up Visual Intelligence to have it in the control center. So this is really good to actually have that as the ability there too, if you don't want to use that shortcut button for that. So for me, I like to use it as Do Not Disturb. But the next question you might be asking is, what about the camera? How good is that been for me in the last sort of 2 days? Well, overall, it's not been too bad, I would say that, especially with this 48 megapixel fusion camera on the back here. And to be honest, have a look at some of these comparisons that I've got right here. So, we do have the iPhone 16 as a comparison here. And then obviously, I can zoom in here on this tree up to a 2x zoom. So this is at 2x sort of zoom, and you can see they're very similar in what we're getting in kind of picture kind of quality. I'd say it's maybe slightly noisier on the 16E, and then if we move up all the way up to the very top here of the total of the 10x zoom, this is the digital zoom, fully cropped in on our little friend at the top of the tree here. You can see a little bit of a difference. Obviously, there's a lot of noise going on, but I would say the 16 is slightly more clearer in what we're getting right here. But then you may also be asking, what about, say, videos and things like this? What's been happening there? Well, I've done some tests to show you. So here we are then on the iPhone 16e, recording at 4K 60 frames per second, and this is at 1x zoom capability. And if I just push this up now to 2x zoom, we've got a little friend up there at the top of the tree. Let's see then how far we can push. We can actually get all the way up to a 6x digital zoom here with the iPhone 16e. But let's now switch over to the iPhone 16 normal. So again, this is the iPhone 16 normal. Do remember, we do also have a 0.5x zoom capability that we can do, but we can go up to 1x again. And then this is the 2x. And our friend's still up there, but we can pinch all the way up to the very top there. That's the 6x zoom capability. To be honest, in daylight, really, I think we're getting around about the exact same sort of quality. Very similar between both the phones. Maybe we're getting a slightly more noise on the 16e compared to the 16, but really, you know, to utilize up to 6x zoom digital, not many people are going to utilize it. If you do want to go to this, you might as well get yourself, say, a refurbished iPhone 15 Pro, or say even a different model altogether with that as an option. Now, one thing that the iPhone 16e has over, say, the normal iPhone 16 is the new C1 chip inside of it. And I've been doing some tests on 5G kind of speeds. And if you look at this chart here, you can actually see that we're getting around about the same kind of speeds for 5G on both of these phones. Now, do remember in the UK, we do not have mmWave technology here. I know some of you guys in the US have that in some sort of cities and things like this, so we don't actually have that, where you could probably utilize that more on the normal iPhone 16. But you can see here, there's not much going on in difference there. Now, the iPhone 16 also does have Wi-Fi 7 built into it, where we've only just got Wi-Fi 6 in there. So obviously, if you do have a Wi-Fi 7 router, you can be able to utilize those extra speeds and everything. So I'm not going to do a speed test there, because obviously we know that the iPhone 16 would win with Wi-Fi 7. But, you know, if your supplier only gives you a Wi-Fi 6 router at the moment, well, you know, that's the point. You're going to only be able to utilize those speeds, you know, for the future. But really, for a phone like this, if you're just going to be watching media and things like this, this is going to be more than enough Wi-Fi 6. You're not going to need hell-blazing fast Wi-Fi just to consume, say, 1080p kind of videos or even 4K videos on a phone like this over Wi-Fi. So yeah, I'll just say that right now. But then for the actual battery life with the iPhone 16e, well, definitely it has been ahead. I actually have noticed that when I get to the end of a day compared to the iPhone 16, that I definitely have a considerable more amount of battery. So say, for example, if I had a day where this phone got down to, say, about 25% battery, this one would still be probably about, say, 37% sort of battery. It is definitely more, not miles more, but it is definitely more that you could actually get that, and you'll easily get a full day's battery out of this, as long as that you're not going to, say, a wedding or, you know, to a theme park or something like this, where you're going to be recording the whole day and things like this. Well, then obviously, yeah, you'll be able to get a good enough battery easily out of this for the time being into the many years into the future. And the great news is that if you ever did have to upgrade the battery or change out the battery, then obviously, yeah, those offerings do come from Apple. But then let's now finally talk about the elephant in the room with this phone, the price. Now, this is probably the one area where, you know, I think a lot of you guys are very disappointed with Apple, that it costs $599 US for this. Considering the old iPhone SE, what you could argue is replacing, or maybe it's not replacing, it could be a new line of phone altogether. Well, that came in at $430, you know, before this one came along. And, you know, to pay $170 more, that is quite a lot more, I would say, for this phone. Now, what I'm going to say with that is that I believe who this phone is for is definitely for people who just don't want to spend out a little bit more for an iPhone 16 out there right now. But this is the weird thing. I've seen lots of deals going for the iPhone 16 already on a lot of sort of tariffs that kind of match the kind of cost for the iPhone 16e right now. But then that's the other thing. I think come Black Friday or come later on into the year, this will reduce down in price. You'll be able to get this the equivalent of $499 US, not from Apple direct, but from a lot of other kind of contracts and sort of suppliers out there. And personally, if you're not desperate right now to get yourself a brand new phone, I'd be waiting out just those months to get that. I know we'll probably have the iPhone 17 by there and things like this, But, you know, I think it will come naturally down to a lower price. And when it does come to around about $499 US, it's definitely a good phone to invest in over, say, the iPhone 16, especially if you just want to use it as an iPhone. You're not going to be wanting to use loads of camera abilities. You won't want to be using lots of extra ability. You just want to use it as just a standard phone. This is going to be a good phone to get. And the other thing where I see this phone being targeted at right now is for business users. So I can imagine that a lot of companies out there who want to give, you know, their employees a brand new iPhone with the security and everything like that, they're going to be opting for this over one of these because obviously it's cheaper. It gives you an A18, it gives you all those years of support, and also it's got a great battery life in it too. So when we are doing phone calls and when we're doing business calls and things like this is going to be more than capable for that. So I think this is something else what this phone is going to be good for. But personally, in my opinion, if you're desperate to get the iPhone 16e, go and get it because it is a good phone if you can splash out $600 for it. But if you do really want it but want the price to come down, I think we're safe in the knowledge that more than likely come about 6 months from now, this would have dropped down quite a lot in price, and you know, it's worth getting it around that time then. But the other option, what I would also say, is that if you are also in for a refurbished phone, there's also the iPhone 15 Pro, which does have a slightly slower chip than the iPhone 16e, but it will give you all those camera abilities and extra functionalities. It also gives you the likes of, for example, 120 Hz Pro motion display. So this is also an option too, that you could possibly even pick this up for around about $600 to $650, whereas this is $600. But obviously it'd be refurbished, secondhand, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, just be aware of that. But I think there are some choices out there, and yeah, it is a good phone, but like I said, I would recommend probably waiting out just a little bit longer for it. But what are your thoughts on the iPhone 16e? Do you think it's a great phone? Are you going to be getting one? Well, let me know in the comments below. And with that as well, guys, it's time to wrap up this video too. So if you have enjoyed watching it, please do press the like button. If you want to hear the latest Apple news, reviews and comparisons, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. Until next time, guys, I'll see you really soon. Take care. Bye bye.